Is this the dance that we're doing every time?
I don't know. I'm changing the dance every time.
Oh, okay. You're like doing like, I don't know, what would we call this?
I'm swimming.
You're swimming?
Or I'm backward swimming. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. It's the new year, y'all.
Happy 2023.
Happy
Or
2023.
whatever feeling you want to have about 2023, feel that.
I hope you're happy
I
about
hope,
2023.
yeah.
Because I am. And I want everybody to be happy. I want everybody to be filled with joy and love. Because that's what we're about.
Oh. Well, 2022 was a doozy.
It was something for a lot of people, for sure.
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
Yes.
I learned a lot in 2022.
Yes. Yep.
And that's, I'm still working on it. I'm doing a blog series where I kind of go through each month of 2020.
That's a different thing entirely.
It is a very different thing entirely. And sort of break down what my accomplishments were and what I had hoped to achieve and actually ended up achieving. And it's been very illuminating.
Yeah. Tuesday, you're going to come up here? Okay. Thank you.
So we thought we would do an episode today just talking about 2023 and our goals and kind of go from there. And if you're watching the visual, like if you're here on YouTube watching us, you'll get to see some of my processing and how I have gone about goal setting.
Mm-hmm.
So feel free to check that out. But yeah, where do you want to start?
Wow. Well, I mean, let's start with kind of like what we've learned in 2022.
So I actually have a visual for this too. So I just got to attend a workshop with Shannon Hernandez and Amy Hager of the Content Personality Club, the Joyful Business Revolution. They have like several things that they offer to people, but I did their Inspired Beyond Belief workshop where we literally spent at least 3 of the 6 hours actively reflecting on 2022 and what we learned, and 2023 and what we're taking forward. And I definitely had some big lessons in 2022 about a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm flipped so many things. I want to show off my coloring pages here. Aren't they beautiful? This is Shannon's art, but my coloring. But I think my biggest takeaways from 2022 was speak. Open.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had really been struggling in prior years with staying silent. I mean, obviously 2022, we launched this podcast.
Yeah.
So that was a huge step in breaking out of the shell and starting that work. But for me, it was a year of opening my throat center and learning to speak and show up. I started doing lives. I started doing workshops again. It was really the year of overcoming the trauma that I had experienced and finding myself again. And I'm calling 2023 the year of the butterfly, even though I've been working with butterfly imagery for at least the past 3 to 4 years. But at first it was like, I really acknowledged I was in that chrysalis stage because I kind of went into some depression in the beginning of our relationship. Because I was processing the trauma of everything prior in my life. And this last year, I kept getting this distinct image of the butterfly coming out of the chrysalis. It was like we're emerging from the darkness, which I think probably a lot of us felt just in terms of 2020 and on, right?
Yeah.
That this last year was really us finally reemerging from the darkness. But for me, that image was this butterfly kind of coming out of the chrysalis, and like the wings are floppy, right? They're wet and they can't fly yet because they're gross and damp and like trying to unfurl and catch the sun and dry out. And 2023 for me is the year of flight. So what is it for you?
So mine is going to be basically oh boy.
Pause. So
and we're back.
So what Hold on, let me reset here. Hold my hand.
Hold my hand.
Hold my hand.
Hold my hand.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Butterfly. Wings.
Wings.
Wet wings.
Yes. Well, I was asking you. So, what did you learn in 2022?
Oh, okay.
And then what is 2023 for you?
Gotcha. So 2022 had a lot going on. Like I graduated from grad school. I finished my internship. I had the whole summer where I was kind of creating a like class on how to download Minecraft and play Minecraft with your kids and that sort of thing. And then I became an LGPC and tried to figure out how to start building my caseload and how to build connections. And so there was a lot of change that was occurring for me too. And so sorry if you heard that. Quasi ran into the microphone.
This is where we hide his booty hole from our viewers.
It's
We need a little black box.
I'll do that in post.
Do that in post.
But yeah, and it's been the year of kind of discovering and unpacking a lot of the neurodivergent aspects of myself that like I haven't been able to really look in on, which also is really interesting because it's kind of like I've been I went kind of as neurodivergent people usually do, is you go from 0 to 100 very quickly. Like a lot of things are black and white. And so when I was like, "Oh, I've been invalidating my neurodivergence for so long, I'm going to lean into that." I leaned into it so hard that I was enabling a lot of the wounded parts to kind of like have a say. Like they are allowed to have a say, but I was allowing it to like any sort of level of distress to kind of cause me to suffer more instead of being like, okay, I hear this, I understand, I'm going to hold you, we're going to figure out some coping mechanisms, and also like let's actively work through this instead of just sitting in the stew of suffering. Which can end up happening. You can find yourself in a vacuum and think and overthink so much that you just end up having this I use the example of just like uh filtering the situation so much that it becomes distorted beyond belief, and then you
playing
don't
that game of telephone with yourself.
yeah, and you don't even recognize why you're upset in the first place, sort of thing. And so that was most of my year, was trying to figure that out. And I appreciate everyone that has been supportive and working through that as well, because it's been hard. It's been really hard, and it's not been the easiest at all. But
I mean, that's part of what we, I think, strive. I don't want to use the word strive. Oh no, Quasi is about to jump on this computer. He sees himself. He's like, who is that other cat on the screen?
Oh boy.
Oh boy. We did say that the visual people were going to have an extra treat today. And
Yep.
it's true.
It's Quasi. It's our cat. Hello, sir.
But
Come back. Thank you.
part of what I feel like our true mission is in Living Luna is demonstrating that open processing and the fact that we are ever changing and we're ever evolving and we're not static. So you had to go through all of this over the last year to figure out who you were, just like I had to go through all my stuff to figure out who I was. And next year we're going to be different people again.
We are.
But I really love using our calendar year. So I'll talk a little bit about my plans for 2023, but just in general, I like using the calendar year and the reset of going into 1/1 every year as an opportunity to look back, to reflect on kind of what came through in the year before. And for me at least, every year of my later adult life has continued to get better and more aware and more open. And I definitely think that that is going to continue this year.
Also, anyone who's unsure of what the weird background noise is, it might be Quasey's purring.
We're not sure if that's going to pick up on the mic or not, because
Yes.
it is.
No, I'm saying it might.
Oh, I was like, do you know for sure?
No, because he's right in front of the microphone.
He's a little bit loud, but
Yeah.
he's real sweet.
Yeah.
And he's been lovey lately, so we're gonna let him stay here.
Yep.
Little man. So I want to commend you for allowing part of your processing to be live, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't sit here and script and pre-plan, and maybe that makes it seem messy, but I think it makes us seem human and who we really are, right? This is not a show about us putting on a show. It's a show about being real, authentic people and nurturing that authenticity and loving ourselves and others without shame.
Right. And the without shame is the biggest the biggest reason why the vacuuming, like spiraling in on itself, can really happen. Like that's why they call it a shame spiral.
Yeah.
It's because you're like, I have this feeling and I'm ashamed of this feeling and I'm ashamed of my shame and I'm ashamed that I'm ashamed of my shame, and you're just
continuing
down.
to spiral down. Yeah. So in the idea of talking about our goals, I want to take a moment for each of us to just kind of announce our personal goals, because there's some accountability in announcing it to the world.
Yeah.
So, and then I have a question I'm going to spring on both of us so we can respond.
Oh boy.
So which we'll get more into that in the second, well, not the second episode of the year. I was like, the second episode of the season. No, it's just year.
Yeah.
So I did this map on a piece of cardboard. And again, visual people get to see this. I guess you can just cut that out and post too. But I mapped out the quarters of my year this year by the seasons, because that's my personal flow, and kind of made some goals for each quarter. And then I also made my weekly schedule, and then my overall personal goals, kind of all on this piece of cardboard, so that I can kind of keep it somewhere where I can keep referring back to it. But my personal goals this year are my own health. That's my number one personal priority, is my own health.
Mhm.
And that means more self-care, more movement, and continuing to eat Ayurvedic style, which that's a guest we need on our podcast. Good Lord, we need to get Bridge on here.
Yes.
Because you all need to meet Bridge.
She's amazing.
Amazing. But that's my number one goal.
Mhm.
My business goal is my Silver Wheel Spiritual Circle and my Siblings Circle, which is going to be a year-long program. We start in February, so like I'm pumped about that. And I just need to keep my focus, because that was something I didn't do in 2022. I was like always coming up with a new project and always shifting gears, and that burned me out. So I want to keep focused this year in my business.
Mhm.
And I think that that's huge. And then be more creative.
Mhm.
So I made it a very small goal to finish 2 paintings this year.
Oh yeah.
And that way I don't feel that pressure. And maybe if I do finish the 2 paintings, yay, I can say at the end of the year, I was creative. And if I don't, well,
Mhm.
I really don't think there's any way I can't finish 2
You
paintings in the
finish
year.
paintings relatively quickly.
Yeah. Well, I have a bunch sitting downstairs that aren't finished. So,
Well, maybe that's the goal, is to finish the ones that aren't finished.
and then I have 2 books that I'm hoping to publish.
Mhm.
My poetry book, Daddy's Girl, and then my slice of life queer romance meets tragedy meets, it's not a queer it's a tragedy, but it's not a queer tragedy. No queers were harmed in the making of that book.
Yep.
Well, emotionally harmed, but we're all emotionally harmed in this world.
Yep.
And yeah, that's my 2023 in a
Mhm.
nutshell. I'm really trying to keep it streamlined this year and not overdo it. That's my biggest goal.
Yeah.
So what's yours?
My biggest one is, self-trust. I struggle a lot with trusting my intuition, which causes me to, um, ask a lot of people for direction and not being proactive at all. And that can really cause there to be an issue with, like, relationships and, like, um just knowing what to do next, right? Like, there was a lot of avoidance last year, and I don't want to do that anymore. I want to, um, if I need to listen to my body in terms of like, if I need more rest, I will listen to my body, and actually rest instead of dissociate using just mindlessly scrolling, mindlessly watching something. Um, and that sort of thing. So self-trust, intuition, those are like the biggest things that I will be wanting to focus on this year. Um, and you said year of the butterfly. Um, for me, it's the year of the wolf, apparently. I
You do not have to get into details about
don't have
that.
to get into detail about that, but
But
like,
wolves are like they're about loyalty in the pack,
yeah.
and um, there's so much great symbolism with wolves. So, what do they mean to you?
So wolves have always meant something, uh, especially lately. But like, I've always liked wolves. But like the wolf for me, um, I it is I I do really enjoy the fact that it is a pack animal, and you have to understand where everyone is in the pack, like what how each person has a different role in that pack. So it's like for me, sometimes I will overgeneralize my relationships of accidentally assuming that different people have similar needs in terms of communication, when in fact someone might need more communication sooner, whereas another person will be, they don't need as much communication and can have something more vague and be totally fine with that. So it's like, um that's one of the big things that I want to take away is like really, um really getting to know and understand each member of my pack.
Yeah, that
So,
makes sense.
yep.
So here's my zinger question for us that I'm going to fling out on the spot and
Woo!
see where it goes. Is what's the future of Living Luna in 2023?
Oh shit. What is it? What is the okay? Well, I love the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I
Me
feel
too.
I feel like that is definitely a thing that will stay. And
I
I
love I love talking to people.
Yeah. And we want to have more interviews. We want to have more people talk about authenticity. You don't I feel like it doesn't necessarily have to be business owners that talk about, like, I like the
Oh yeah,
aspect.
I've been scoping some artists. I mean, we had some business owner artists, but like more artists. I'd love to get some musicians on, and just like members of our community, even to
Yeah.
just get on and have authentic conversations.
Mhm. People that we've
Um,
already maybe built relationships with, like friendships, and talk about their journeys with authenticity and their struggles and all that sort of stuff if they're willing to. Because I mean, yeah, it's really cool to just lift up the concept of, we're all human trying to figure out how to be human, and accept the fact that we are human. That's the biggest thing, is we're pressured so much by society to be a certain way, when in fact we are all so unique that we need to appreciate each person as a
yeah.
separate entity.
Yeah. And speaking of people being unique and all that, like I know 2023, we're going to be working more with Body of Nine. So we've signed up to be practicing partners with Body of Nine. And if you've listened to prior episodes, you have heard us talk about that. And we are going to be scheduling hopefully, some group identification events. So if you are a part of our community and our audience and you're like, okay, I'm like really, really curious about this whole Body of Nine thing, the group identification is the most affordable way to get identified. And we may even be offering workshops for people after they get identified to talk about next steps and what it means and all of that. And that really will help people step into that authenticity. So if that interests you, like, tell us, please.
Yeah.
It's been really interesting the end of 2022 because we're only a couple of days into the new year as we're recording this, but at the end of last year, I was really starting to step into the doing more lives and being myself and putting myself out there. And so many people have said like, "Oh wow, I saw your live," or "I listened to this podcast," or whatever. And like they say that to me, but then they don't engage on the pages. So please feel free to engage and let us know that you are, listening, watching, participating, because we'd love to hear from you and get more of that community engagement. Living Luna, for me, the future is the community.
Yeah. And I mean, I also want to say this with the understanding that a lot of our community is neurodivergent.
Mhm.
So the ADHD is real. We understand, we feel you. So it's like uh we encourage you to engage as much as you can. Um don't worry about feeling like you are too much, because if you ever have a time where you could be potentially overshooting boundaries, we'll let you know, but for the most part, just
Yeah,
come
I
as you
mean, we're
are.
wholesome,
Yeah.
right? Like be your wholesome self. Don't come in and pain bump and put your drama on our doorstep uninvited, and we're good pretty
Yeah.
much. Like we Living Luna, I loved. I don't know if I've ever said this in a podcast episode before, but our first moderator, our first volunteer moderator said that moderating our community would be like being a referee at the Olympics. That, for the I mean, really, for the most part, if not in the entire part so far, it's really been a very accepting, open space, and that's what we're aiming to keep it. So, Living Luna is a community podcast and movement. So we're continuing the podcast, we're continuing the community. I think the movement. I don't know if this is a 2023 project, so I want to put it out there and have you respond, Ikenna, but also have anyone else that hears this respond. Is I really want Living Luna to be a community building thing within other communities. So I want there to be little local Living Luna chapters
Mm,
that promote, that kind of collect different local businesses that are ethical, sustainable, LGBTQIA friendly, Black owned or BIPOC owned, or like just, different causes that we want to support. And make sure that social justice is being done through the brand by promoting uh, different brands, companies, people, etc., that maybe don't always have a voice or a platform that's promoted. So that's something I had thought about monetizing that, but then I was like, no, that's my heart project.
mhm,
Like my heart project is building community and connecting people.
mm.
So
Yeah, like kind of almost like a referral network.
yeah, exactly. So we would have like, these Living Luna directories of online businesses, and then we could have different cities. If people were like, oh, I'm in Philly and I want to be like the PA representative of Living Luna, where anytime I find a business that meets your values, like I'll connect them with you.
Mhm.
And I love the idea of us continuing to promote um, small businesses within the
Yeah.
podcast and on our blog and website and all that good stuff.
Yeah, because oftentimes, like, I mean, that's the thing is like we are we do have a lot of privilege by how we're both white. Um and we that's like the biggest aspect of the privilege. And uh I'm able-bodied, you have chronic pain stuff, but like for the most part, like pretty able-bodied. Like
Can't
um
can't walk long distances or do most physical activity, strenuous activity, but I
yeah.
can get around,
Yeah.
which is very, very good.
Yeah. So, but like we understand that like there's a responsibility on the platform to encourage people to connect who are being lost or overshadowed by
Dominant
dominant
society.
society, and we want to uplift you. We want to be able to help you through these, um have your voice be heard, have you be your authentic self, and not have to worry about presenting a certain uh as a certain race or
Right.
culture or
Everyone is
anything.
welcome in our community as long as everyone in our community is willing to uplift others.
Yeah,
Like, that's it. You just have to be willing to uplift others and not just people like you,
right,
but people who are other than you.
right.
And uh,
Well, with that being said, with I want to be able to hold us to that. I want you and I to hold accountability for ourselves, to be proactive in finding, to one, you can reach out to us, but two, I would also love to offer interview spots for people who, might need to be uplifted because of the fact that dominant culture has been stifling them.
right.
And so I already have a few people in mind that I want to reach out to because I've just said that. So
Yeah. And if you know somebody who would be a good fit for our community,
mhm.
who would be a great guest for our podcast, like, we want to hear that. We want to be able to bring people in to talk that you're excited to hear from. And we want to be able to fill this community with people who are there to be uplifting. It's really cool as I've expanded my Facebook. And I still use Facebook for our business, and I have a personal page that I just it's really a business page because I don't really use any social media other than Discord for socializing.
Yep.
But it's really cool as I've been surrounding myself with people um that are willing to uplift others,
Mhm.
how positive my space has become.
Mhm.
And I want to really attract people who are so ready for that. Like, they're ready to have that positive space. They are ready to have that community where they don't have to worry about fighting and, getting into the deep end of nitpicking and like, oh, well, they
Yeah.
don't belong here, what, like, I just want
Yeah.
to have people that are so ready to be in loving community.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about I think our communities who have been oppressed or misunderstood or not seen or not, not heard will fall into this trap of being like, I must be understood at all times, sort of thing. So when you enter into these communities, that's where we can become more rigid accidentally. And the concept of living Luna is like you're coming in with your authentic self, knowing that like you are able to present yourself, people are able to maybe not understand, and they're not wrong for not understanding. You're not wrong for how you presented yourself, and people can ask clarifying questions out of curiosity, not out
Mhm.
of maliciousness.
Right.
And then you can provide them with some information or that can cause the community itself to then have its own movement of like, oh, us as a community may not be as aware of the specific cultural thing that's going on. So, let's create a forum post or let's create an awareness post that different people can then come together to create a list of resources that we can then use as a community to then educate ourselves more about that
Mhm.
specific thing.
Yeah.
And that sort of that literally helps us uplift each other because not one person is going to be doing all of the work of providing that pieces of awareness because
Right.
it's everyone in the community who will be working together to do that.
Yeah. You know, the whole "it takes a village" concept is something that I feel like has been lost to a lot of modern society. And I'm really feeling that call to find the soul family, to
Yeah.
find the digital community, to find the local community, and to build it.
Yeah.
And we've built it, right? We have created this framework of Living Luna in 2022, and 2023 I hope is the year where we're really seeing it ramp up and do what it's here to do, because we want to uplift as many people as we can.
Absolutely.
So we'd love to hear what your goals for 2023 are.
Yeah, tell us your goals. Tell us, you can also tell us about some of the things that you've learned in 2022 and how you're going to have those learned lessons kind of catapult you into 2023. Um, and yeah, we'd love to hear from you about that sort of stuff because that's, that's our bread and butter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's all for today,
Yeah.
but we've got some cool episodes coming up,
Hmm.
and we are looking forward to seeing who decides they want to be a guest and have a cool conversation with us to share with others.
Yeah. Again, you don't have to have a specific like flourishing entrepreneurship business.
You can
Um,
just be a regular old person with some very strong opinions on anything
yeah.
that is part of our brand. And
Yes, please go to our website first and see if you align with us because that could get interesting really quickly. Um, but yes, so which could also be interesting if we wanted to have like an interesting conversation of people who might be struggling with the concepts. We'll see.
we'll
But
see. I'm not going to invite in anyone that wants to fight with us,
yeah,
because
don't
that's
fight
not
with
our
us.
platform. But
No.
if you're like, I would love to talk with you guys about tolerance and how I'm struggling with that, and I'm open and curious, that
Yeah.
I would be willing to go there with somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So if you're just a person that wants to talk about how authenticity or um
Love.
love
Love is love.
love is love, all different types of love, any type of love, and you want to talk about your experiences with those things, feel free to reach out to us and we'd love to set something up with you.
Yeah. So we'll see what comes in the year, but we've got some goals.
Hmm.
And yeah, until next time.
Until next time.
Heck.
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 Wow, Quasi looks real mad from this angle. I think he's staring at himself and purring.
And he's kneading my thigh with his claws like this.
Wow, sir.
Oh, little man. All right.
All right,
Bye.
bye.